Did America bomb Iran because they wanted to hit their secret Bitcoin mining sites? Welcome back to the Bitcoin Winnebago. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. It's about to get a little weird as we discuss Bitcoin's network hash rate and what's going on with the drop in hash rate that we saw recently. We're going to talk a little bit about geopolitics. Was their nuclear facilities at all tied to Bitcoin mining, as there has been speculation? Look, Bitcoin is non-government, non-permissioned money. It's a network that's decentralized, and I think Bitcoin's about peace and defunding the military industrial complex. So I'm not for war, but there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and I think it's interesting to talk about. So grab yourself a cuppa and join me in this shaggy shack of a Winnebago, and let's dive into it. Look, around June 15th, there were B-2 bombers in the air. And we hit Iran's nuclear capacity, which is said to be for power generation. Because my understanding is that according to international law, every country has the right to generate power using nuclear in a peaceful way. But coinciding with the time that America hit Iran, we've also seen hash rate cool down and blocks solved in a lot less time than the average of 10 minutes, which will result in one of the largest difficulty decreases, which is good for Bitcoin miners like me, and could be good for Bitcoin miners like you if you want to mine your own Bitcoin efficiently. You can get a massive price advantage on the Bitcoin that you're stacking every single day if you're mining Bitcoin efficiently. And I can help you get plugged in at scale with as few as one machine or as many as thousands of machines. And let's stack some Bitcoin, because the most efficient Bitcoin miners are stacking at a cost of production under 70,000 at current difficulty. And this difficulty decrease is going to benefit miners that are online and hashing efficiently. Because blocks are getting solved in longer than 10 minutes, the network will automatically decrease the difficulty to rebalance it and allow for block solve times to be at the 10-minute average. This process happens every 2 weeks. It's called the difficulty adjustment, and it happens every 2016 blocks. We're expecting a massive decrease in difficulty, which means that miners effectively earn more Satoshis and more Bitcoin for their hash power that's online. So what happened? We saw hash rate go from about 950 exahashes. This is the most powerful computer network ever. It's far more powerful than all of Microsoft's servers, Amazon servers, and any other network combined. Bitcoin is by far the most supported with energy and security through the security feature, which is proof of work. Us miners get compensated in the form of block subsidy, the new Bitcoin created with every block that gets mined, along with the fees that people pay voluntarily to use the network. If you're going to send Bitcoin from person A to person B, then person A, the sender, is going to pay a fee to be included in a block, and that goes to the miners. We saw overall network hash power go from about 950 exahash, dropping to where it is currently of about 800 exahash, and that's a huge decrease in hash power. Could it be because Iran was mining Bitcoin and their mining infrastructure were affected by the recent turmoil? The way we measure hash power is an inferred measurement. In other words, we deduct where hash power would need to be in order for blocks to be solved within an average time. It should take an average of 600 seconds to solve those blocks, and you can infer by the difficulty how much hash power would be required to get the block solve time at 10 minutes or below 10 minutes. With that average over the epoch, which is the time period of 2016 blocks, again, if blocks are taking longer than 10 minutes, you're going to expect a decrease in difficulty so that blocks are solved faster by the overall network. More hash power means blocks are getting solved faster. Less hash power, less blocks being solved. It is going out on a limb to suggest that it's Iran's mining facilities going offline, when in reality, a lot of the network is seeing increased curtailments where mining facilities are going offline because of increased energy demand as miners work cooperatively with the grid. When the grid has spikes in demand for power, miners go offline and provide the power that they're otherwise consuming back to the grid. It's a beautiful part of Bitcoin mining how us miners work in tandem with the power producers and grid operators and effectively make power more accessible to the grid when the grid needs it. And there's really no other technology like that. This supports the base load of the grid and makes power more available for other consumers. In any case, curtailments are hitting everywhere. Texas is obviously the mecca of Bitcoin mining. We have facilities in Texas as well, so holler at me if you want to get plugged in. It is going out on a limb to suggest that it's Iran, although Iran has been known to have a lot of hash power. It is suspected that Iran is running about 2 gigawatts. I mean, who knows for real, but it's suspected that they could be running 2 gigawatts. And to put that in perspective, if they're consuming 2 gigawatts or 2,000 megawatts of power, and if you were to convert that into like S19s running at 3 kilowatts at 100 terahash roughly, then that would be like 67 exahash, which is an absolutely massive amount of hash power, almost 1% of the overall network. Craziness. And in other news, Ocean Pool, with the increased hash power that they've seen deployed since earlier this week, trending at about 10 exahash, they had a super lucky streak. I was stoked to see that they hit 4 blocks in one day, which is far luckier than a small pool like that would be expected. But then again, you have all kinds of variableness in Bitcoin mining because sometimes may be good, sometimes may be shit if you're actually exposed to the actual mining, which is why I like Ocean, because when they hit a block, I hit a block as a miner on that Ocean. I like the transparent payout methods and their way of measuring the shares of work that I'm participating with the hardware that I own. Miners on Ocean got paid like twice as much as they would otherwise expect because the pool is hardly expected to hit 2 blocks a day, not even, but they hit 4 blocks a day. And therefore their inferred hash power for their pool is inferred to be over 20 exahash. But in reality, there's about 10 exahash. This shows how there's a lot of variableness in measuring hash power, especially with short windows of time. You have to zoom out, like most things with Bitcoin, and look at the big picture. Appreciate you hanging out in the Winnebago. Stay bullish. Happy hashing. If you're not hashing, hit me up and let's get you online stacking Bitcoin efficiently. Do you think that the US hit Iran's mining infrastructure? Roll, rock and roll, peace out.